games, then we'll be a little bit better. So he's going back and he's doing all these things, and he's just getting a little irritated. That's all.
Okay, let's take the other possibility that it didn't come from the agent, that it was just a leak in the building.
Yeah,
that
it could have been.
That does happen. I know they're pretty good in this town because of the media has shrunk a lot. There's not as much. There's not 2 newspapers like there used to be. It's not New York where there's 7 newspapers or whatever. So they're pretty good at keeping a lid on things, but sometimes people get a scoop from inside, right? Isn't that possible?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, it
100% possible.
And to me, that would be what would really tick me off if I was Vrabel. Because on something this big, you're like, if it's his really goal, because it makes him have to tap dance like that.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to have to do that. If that's really what happened here, and I suspect that Rappaport's got some good info, or else I don't think it was just some schmo. He probably feels like he's got a pretty good source to go with that, right?
Who would that be?
Who knows? There's a lot of people that work in that building, but
Everybody always
he was
have a
on
source.
it during the weekend. He was on it during the weekend. You know, on Sunday morning I was reading it's not likely that Tannehill's going to play. And Vrabel continues to push the option of maybe having Tannehill out there, which seems to me to be pretty unrealistic.
Yeah, he's holding on to that notion.
He's holding on to that. Did we really think? We've seen it before. We've seen this injury, what it looks like. He wasn't running as well to begin with before he injured it.
I see
they
him missing
can't
2
protect
games.
a quarterback very well anyway, so how would you protect a quarterback who really can't move?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
I think it feels, we all know, and Vrabel can say whatever it is that he wants, but I think we all know the writing's on the wall. Tannehill's not practicing again today. He's not going to play on Sunday, as much as that's a narrative as Vrabel wants to push.
Well, I'm going to tell y'all this, and just be prepared for it. If Levis plays well, this may be the beginning.
But that's what it's a best case scenario.
It may be the beginning of his era. And Ryan, just get healthy for the off season so you can go and be ready for another team.
Enjoy your free agency tour.
Exactly. But if Will Levis shows any promise, it's his team to run from here on out.
I wouldn't be surprised in the
agree.
slightest. And Willie, I agree with the scenario that you brought up, that I think it's probably more likely that it came from within the building than it came from the agent. Just because I don't see what the agent gains from telling Ian Rappaport that information on Wednesday, when if Levis truly is getting the start, we're all going to know on Sunday. But what I want to get into coming up next is I feel like Levis is probably going to get the start. Vrabel is still pushing the notion that we could see both quarterbacks. What's the best thing for the football team? Vrabel said yesterday they still want to win games. How does this team win games? What's the best quarterback scenario for this team to beat the Falcons on Sunday? We'll get into that. And, of course, your phone's coming up next, 615-737-1025. What a juicy day, a juicy week of some news with the Tennessee Titans. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, we're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, the year is starting to move into that final quarter here. The holidays not too far away. And if you're kind of envisioning what is your financial plan for the end of this year or even on into next year, think about if you're needing cash, Loan Pronto and their ability to get you cash from your home's equity. Think about them because they can help you. They've helped me before. They've helped our family. Loan Pronto was just a phone call away. $20,000, $50,000, $100,000. If you're a homeowner, there's chance is that you've got a lot of equity built up. And Loan Pronto can get you the cash in a hurry and access up to 95% of your home's value if that's what you need to pay whatever bills you need. If you want to put a down payment on for a new house, do a home improvement project, or just pay off bills like credit cards or car loans, whatever it might be. So call Loan Pronto and get their help right now. and get started on the Express Equity Credit Line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
At Mercedes-Benz of Music City, a healthy and productive culture takes a day-to-day discipline. Here's Sam Cavett, General Manager, with a few thoughts.
Mercedes-Benz has its standard, and we have Dream Motor Group standards. They're definitely on the same level, but I feel like we challenge ourselves at least as much as Mercedes-Benz challenges us. It's a genuine motivation to take care of customers, and we see it in the customer reviews.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hal Gill here for my good friends at Dunkin'. I get my Dunks every morning. I grew up with Dunkin' in Boston, and it's been my favorite ever since. Fall in love with Dunkin's pumpkin coffee, lattes, muffins, and donuts. Made with their signature high-quality coffee, each sip and bite is sure to delight. Perfect for those cool autumn mornings, or as a sweet treat any time of day you won't be able to resist the delicious pumpkin flavor. Get pumped for pumpkin. Stop by Dunkin' today.
Jewelry business, it's in my blood. I've been doing it all my life, and it's my passion.
Meet Daniel Sabalas, a third-generation jeweler at Genesis Diamonds.
This line of work, it's all about honesty and trust. It's about building relationships.
And that's what drew Daniel to Genesis, where it's all about education, transparency, and respect for each customer.
It's based on a family business mentality, and that's how we are. We're here to educate, to guide you, and we make it very easy. So we really go out of our way to educate customers in the right way. There's no stress level, there's no tension. The customer can feel that.
All this while providing the guaranteed best value price.
I've never seen a company that has the best price like this that I've seen anywhere. We are a powerhouse of diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds. No commission salespeople, no pricing games, no risk, no pressure, no cutting corners.
Genesis Diamonds is going to give you the best price, best quality, guaranteed, no matter what.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here with More Great Homes. Located just steps from the White Bridge Shopping and Dining District of Nashville's Hillwood neighborhood, 80 Brookwood Terrace offers 2 homes with over 4,300 square feet, 5.5 baths. For more info, want your home listing to be seen and heard by home buyers? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
Keeping it local.
The Titans get a big win. Well, Derrick Henry's on the field. It's like, all right, what's going to happen?
And fun.
Bad time to get Florida. They're going to be mad. Oh, my goodness.
Every day, it's Chase McCabe.
I was sitting here going, I think I'm going to watch Batman 1989 tonight.
And Big Joe Dubin.
That's your plan for tonight? Probably, yeah. I need a night.
The Chase and Big Joe Show. Brought to you by Regal Realty Group. Weekdays at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
On spaceship, and I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Be good just to hold them down by your side. Yeah, great.
Well, we're real happy.
So that was Joe Rexrode this morning, who got verbally berated by Mike Vrabel.
Joe Bobby.
Yeah, Rexy Robbie, as he has been affectionately called in our text line. Mike Vrabel called him out for looking like an idiot with his hands, whatever Joe was doing. Mike Vrabel's truly on a roll.
Oh,
Nobody is safe.
Nobody's safe. I don't want to go over
Vrabel.
there. Not that I go over there anyway for interviews and stuff, but I don't want to go over there right now because he's going after everybody.
He is.
He seemed to be very excited about the people that wanted to ask about the Falcons, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kayla.
Joe was.
Oh, you have a question about the Falcons?
Yeah,
bring it on.
Please get
Everybody else stop. Everybody else stop. You have a question about the Falcons? You're up.
Even though Joe's question was, in fact, about the Falcons.
It was. It fell into the category. I mean, they're playing the Falcons on Sunday. Yeah.
The category of the question about the Falcons, however, was not satisfactory.
Right.
In Mike Vrabel's umbrella of acceptable questions about the Atlanta Falcons. My goodness. Testy Mike this week.
Watch your backs.
Watch your backs because nobody's safe. Make your silly underdog picks for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at thegamenashville.com or the 1025 The Game app as we approach week 9 of college football and week 8 of the NFL. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We've got a bunch of thoughts in our text line about the quarterback situation. So before we get into Jonathan Hutton in 15 minutes, let's get into your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dustin in Hopkinsville says this is Levis' way to win the game. The only thing he has to do is play the game that they ask him to. Minimize mistakes. He doesn't have to be lights out and throw for over 250 yards. Just put us in a position to win. And don't make the dumb mistakes. He's going to miss a throw. He could fumble a hike. It's how he rebounds. And he could show a few flashes and a big hurdle. Where you tackle him, he keeps moving forward. Essentially, that Levis just needs to go out there, do what he's told, and take care of the football. And I would agree.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
that's every quarterback's job description, I would say. But here, to me, is the key question. This is the key question going forward. And you sent me, Carolina, a little article that Alex Doherty had done with some quotes from Barry Trotz. I didn't get to hear Barry with Jared yesterday. They may well have gotten into this, right? They've picked up a couple of guys on waivers. Like, let's take Sammy Fagimo. Comes over, waits his turn, gets in there. Saturday night, looks really good. Scores a goal, was a positive impact, and you're thinking, ooh, they may have something here. Last night, not the same. He was not a factor at all. In fact, he didn't get a lot of playing time, and last night, obviously, for the team was not a good night. But there's going to be ups and downs. But Barry, and then they picked up another kid off of the waiver wire, Liam Foodie, once a first-round pick, got some tools, was lost in the shuffle in Columbus. They want to see if a new set of circumstances will be good for him here. And the term he used was process over results right now. And I think that is maybe the most succinct way. We've been saying, what are they doing? Are they rebuilding? Is it Trotzification? What is all this they're doing?
Right.
And I think that's really what it is they're looking at the process. The results are secondary to the process. The process is, how do you build a winning team? So in my mind, if Tannehill is hurt, you trade Byard, and you're basically saying this year is not going to end the way we want it to, the goals are shifting here, then I think that's the term, process over results. So I wouldn't worry as much about, and I know that's hard for Mike Vrabel, you want to try to win the game. You're battling to win the game. But the more important thing is, what do you have in Will Levis? What could he do well? So let's not put him in a shell, and let's put him in a position to succeed. But over the course of the season, let's find out what you have in him. What's going on with how good can Spears be? How good? Where's Chigakonko? Can you get him going a little bit? These are big questions for the big picture here, and it's not as much do they beat the Falcons on Sunday as maybe it would have been if they were 4-3 or 3-4, something like that.
Well, this is where, Tim Kelly, Charles London, this is where they earn their money right now. When you have a young quarterback, rookie quarterback, and he has to make his first start. He either will look like Wilson in the Jets when he first started, or he will look like Brock Purdy, one of the two. So it's going to be imperative how they put this game plan together for Will Levis. And Will Levis will tell them how much more they can put on his plate. They're going to go at his speed. They're not going to try to expedite this thing if the quarterback is showing he can't move that fast mentally. So what they're going to do is they're going to put the game plan together. We assume from all of this cloak and dagger stuff that more than likely Will Levis is the guy. So they're going to put a game plan together that works toward his strength and the team's strength, which is running the football, and his strength, getting the ball down the field, one or two reads, whether it be, half field read, to start off, and then you will tell us if we can open up the playbook more for you. We started off with a half field read. You got your number one, number two. If it's not there, chuck it down to the back or run. If he proves that he can do that, show he can do that with some consistency, Then you may see second half, or you may see the next game. Now we open up that window a little bit more. So to me, this is where Tim Kelly's got to earn his keep. This is what Charles London's got to earn his keep. This quarterback, he's your future. You have to see what you have in him, but you have to do it in such a way that you don't rush it. Even though you want to see a lot in him, you can't rush this. You can't, because if you do, we're going to see more bad things than good things. They need to take the approach that the Pittsburgh Steelers took with Ben Roethlisberger, the Baltimore Ravens took with Joe Flacco, what Houston is taking with C.J. Stroud, what Indy was taking with Richardson. Bring it slow, use the run game, keep everything condensed. Every once in a while, we'll try to get it downfield with your big arm. But other than that, we keeping this thing in a phone booth. Even with our passes, everything is in a phone booth.
So do you guys subscribe to process over results for the Titans at this point?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean
in regard to their season. In regards to their season,
and that does not mean that you're not trying to win every game. You're
Right.
trying to win, but there's a way you're going about it. You have to find out what you have and what you don't have. You have to find out when you go to draft next spring what you need and who can do the job that you have, and maybe give guys. You said this as a possible reason why you wouldn't sign DeAndre Hopkins, and it sounded crazy to some people, right? But you were saying, look, I want to see if Traylon Burks can be a featured guy in an attack. Now, maybe you have a little more ability to do that now. Now that you've basically said, you've made the signal, this is the positive of trading a Byard and being 2-4, saying, you know what, our team is going to look different next year. I got to find out if Traylon Burks can play. First, I got to find out if he can stay on the field.
Yeah.
But when he's out there, can the guy have a game where we feature him in the game plan and even coverage rolls over to him a little bit and he makes plays? Right now, I'm worried that they don't have anything there. But when you're in this mode, it's a little easier to, try to stretch it a little bit, try to push the envelope and say, can this guy play or not? And at the end of the year, you might say no, and you might have to go in a different direction. But at least you'll know.
I think that trading Kevin Byard was the indication to me that, hey, if we win some games, great. But it's more so looking ahead to the future. And I think the Ryan Tannehill injury just kind of coincides with that. Where if Ryan Tannehill never got injured and we wouldn't see Will Levis, then maybe we wouldn't feel that way as much, because you still have your starting quarterback out there who I still believe gives you the best chance to win. But Levis out there, trading Byard, I believe there are probably more trades on the horizon if you can find a partner. Then yeah, it's let's try to win. And if we win, great. But if we don't, we got picks.
You stay competitive. You want to teach people how to win. But at the same time, you might be going for the long term and know that Levis, it might struggle some. But can he get through the fire?
He will struggle.
Or if not, then we got to make a decision that way. At least we know.
You just want to see him get better every time that he's out there, whether it's 1% better, 2% better, 10% better. You want to see him get better as the season goes on, because then that gives you hope and of knowing, okay, this is our guy.
Yeah.
He just need more reps.
I'm interested to hear Jonathan Hutton's thoughts on the quarterback situation. He will join us coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here. Are you looking for a luxury home on over an acre, 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and close to 7,000 square feet? 6551 Brownlee Drive in Nashville's Westmead neighborhood offers that and a 4th car garage, all by an award-winning builder. Text the number 1 to 615-420-2377 for pricing and info. Want your home listing to be seen and heard by home buyers? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
Join 102.5 The Game and me, Chase McCabe, for the grand opening of Prince's Hot Chicken at the brand new Tanger Outlets in Antioch on Friday, October 27th from 12 to 2. Come hang out with the Suit for a chance to win Preds tickets and enjoy the best hot chicken in Nashville from Prince's Hot Chicken, Nashville's original hot chicken restaurant.
Hey y'all, this is Ronte, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is the pimento cheese. I was like, go cheese, go pimento, go honey, go get it.
Hi, this is Chantrice, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is the mild spiciness of the pickled jalapenos. No, it's the crispy chicken. Actually, I can't decide. It's the entire sandwich.
Order the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real Chick-fil-A guests paid for their testimonials.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is delivered by Black Tie Moving. This is Nick Frazier. Last night, the Nashville Predators fell short of a win versus the Vancouver Canucks 3-2. That was the Canucks' 40th win all-time against the Preds. With Kiefer Sherwood's goal last night, Tommy Novak is now the co-leader with Philip Forsberg for the most points on the team with 5. The Preds' next game is Saturday at 6 p.m. as they host the Toronto Maple Leafs. News out of college football, Michigan University is under investigation for sign stealing. The man behind the sign stealing was former U of M staffer Connor Stalions. Stalions has bought tickets to 12 out of 13 possible schools with records showing the purchase of tickets. Stalions is also on record for buying tickets to the 2021 and 2022 SEC title games. According to sources with ESPN, all out-of-conference game tickets purchased involved college football playoff contending teams. The Michigan Wolverines are currently the number 2 ranked team in the nation. I'm Nick Frazier, and you're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Game Center update delivered by Black Tie Moving. Use the promo code GAME to score 10% off your next move.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board. Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Jonathan Hutton, Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, will join us very shortly, and he joins us now. Jonathan Hutton, Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, because it is Hutton o'clock. Hutton, always appreciate you. Ian Rappaport reported this morning that Will Levis will get the start on Sunday. We just heard from Mike Vrabel at the podium about an hour ago saying, no, I never said that. What do you make of the quarterback situation?
Well, last week I told you guys I had just had a suspicion we would see both guys in the game. I still think we will. I still think we'll see Malik Willis. I think they'll have packages in for him, but this is a Will Levis game. If Ryan Tannehill can't go, Levis should be the guy, quite frankly. And I think it's just because I think we can watch Malik Willis and know he's not the starter next year. We know that.
Yes.
We can watch him play and know that. He can be the backup. He can be the backup quarterback for the Tennessee Titans if he wants to continue down this path, and so the Titans. But Titans need to figure out what they have in Levis. And if Tannehill's not available, and by the way, Tannehill, if he is available, he's the guy, but he's not going to be. It should be Levis. And I don't know. I think here's my thing on what Vrabel's doing. He wants both guys to prepare during the week like they don't know what's going on. And I think everyone it's as clear as day what's happening here. Will Levis is going to start against the Atlanta Falcons.
It is pretty obvious that if it's between believing Ian Rappaport's report and believing what Mike Vrabel says at the podium, probably going to side with Ian Rappaport. But you say you still think that we're going to see a little bit of Malik Willis. What do you think that balance is going to be? Is it Will Levis with a short leash? Is it, like you mentioned, just a couple of packages for Malik Willis to come in? What is the good balance there between seeing both of those quarterbacks?
No, I think the balance is just what down and distance and what situations is Malik Willis at his best? How do you get the most out of his skill set? For the last year and a half, we've heard nothing but Vrabel mention how he doesn't want Willis to just take one read and bounce out of the pocket, where sometimes that's totally fine. And hey, with this offensive line, sometimes you have to do that. So I think there will be situations where they can use his legs, get him out on the run, get him out of the pocket, and allow some things to either develop with a route with him or with the back out of the backfield with him, or use his legs to go get a first down. But it's the thing about Willis in the previous game was just the situational awareness, the moments where you take a sack with the clock running down, or you have the deal where there's a busted play because Spears doesn't pick up a block on the edge, and that means Willis on a run where he's going to the pylon can't get to the pylon, but still tries to get up the sideline and dive for the end zone instead of get out of bounds and save clock. Like those are things that you have to take note of, and hopefully they can improve on with him. But those instances are what I'm saying, where he's not the starter next year. That it's more about those things than it is just overall skill, because the guy's got tons of athleticism that they can use. And I don't think that they would go into a week without trying to have something ready for him, because there's also a scenario where Levis comes in and does not play all that well.
Yeah, it is. And if that happens, I think it would be unfortunate. We're talking with Jonathan Hutton, host of Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Now, do you believe because I did mention to Caroline and Willie that if Levis comes in and they see what they want to see from him, do you think this is the beginning of, Will Levis's, stint as starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. This reminds me a bit of the whole VY thing, but it's kind of reversed because this isn't on Tannehill. And whenever they made VY the starter as the rookie, and he goes on to do some really good things, and they will go on a run. It reminds me just from the situation of, okay, what if, and then the if happened. And then everyone got on board with the following off season, right? With this case, Mace, Tannehill gives them the best chance to win right now. Mm-hmm. But if you start stacking wins, which the Titans were not doing, then you stick with the hot hand, because that's the momentum. And oh, by the way, I think you'll vouch for this. The vets will be on board with that. Mm-hmm. That's where you start building the confidence within the locker room, despite what's gone on this week with Kevin Byard or whatever else could go on over the next few days. I'm saying, let it play out. But sure, and this is also on the ankle of Tannehill, and it goes back to another conversation we had last week. If Tannehill knows he's not the guy, and he's been team first, he's as tough as they come, he's rehabbing, he's trying to get back on the field, all of those things I believe. But if you have the option for a certain procedure, maybe last year you put it aside trying to push through it, when this year it's the business that hits the crossroads with the game. And I'm not saying that Tannehill's doing that. I have no evidence of that. I'm simply saying we've seen players do it before, and that's just the harsh reality of the business, just like it was harsh reality that they traded Kevin Byard.
Do you think the success of Will Levis is predicated on how well Tim Kelly and Charles London gets him prepared for this game, and how they approach this game with Will Levis? Because my thing is, to me, he doesn't have to win the game. But if he shows that he has command of what's going on, and he's getting better, that's all as a guy from outside looking in, that's all I want to see. Damn the wins and losses, because to me the roster's not that good anyway. But if he shows that he's picking up on what's going on, a la, Vince Young or even Steve McNair, it wasn't about wins. It was about, are you improving as a quarterback? So that's what I would love to see. But do you think a lot of that is really, this is where Tim Kelly and Charles London earns their money?
No doubt. But, the other thing, like you're saying, how do they do the game plan with Levis? I'm just thinking about what made him great in his great moments, Mace, at Kentucky. And it wasn't last year, it was the year prior, where they were able to, they were run first and a defensive-minded football team, where they came around and started surprising people. And to me, that's the game plan, and you let your rookie play off of that. I think the most successful rookies that come into the league have a run game, and they have an O-line that protects them on downs and distances where they've got to throw. But they take their lumps. They take their lumps and get the ball out fast. Have receivers that win 50-50 balls that are going to win the combat catches. We haven't seen that on a routine basis either. And I also haven't seen on a routine basis the desire to just run the ball. So that has to be in the works if you're looking for the best possible success story to come out of all of this. The other good factor here, and I was joking yesterday with Withrow that I'm starting Desmond Ridder on my fantasy team this week because there's always the quarterback you don't assume is going to play great against this Titans defense, and they go out and have a career day for the rest of their career. They'll look back on this week, week 8 in Nashville. But I also say this is not the most daunting opponent to face in your first career start. Now, it's the NFL. It's not going to be easy for a first career start, but to me it's better than going up against some of the defenses I've seen from these rookies already. And Levis was pretty high on the radar of many analysts and mock drafters and all that this April for good reason, because he has the skill set necessary that you can see and develop. And if they've been doing what they've been doing behind the scenes, Mace, to your original question, about the game plan, this should be a development plan for Levis if they've been doing the right things behind the scenes, Kelly and London, because we haven't heard or seen from him all that much. He's been getting practice reps, getting the scout team reps, but then the rookies also traditionally stay after a little bit and work with the coordinator and quarterback coach. So let's see how that has all panned out as well.
Jonathan Hutton is with us. So Hut, I think we all agree that it's now time to set the table for Levis to have a chance to be the starter. So I thought very early in the press conference today when Teresa asked Mike Vrabel, why not give him all the reps? And he goes into the whole thing. Well, I never said he was the starter, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. I do think that's a really good question, though. Like I think if we're going to wear our amateur GM hat here, our assessment of Malik Willis, I think the consensus is tracking to be a solid backup, maybe a late bloomer way down the road, but not going to be your starter next year. I think that's a very fair assessment that most people would agree with. Then I think maybe there is a good argument for just saying Levis does get all the reps at practice. Agree?
Unless they just want Levis to beat out Willis finally. I mean, that's the other thing is take the damn job.
But doesn't it help to get the reps, though, if you haven't had many reps? I mean, I can see both sides of it. You create the inner competition, but I also see we have to give this guy a chance.
Willie, I'm with you, man. Like, to me, there's no benefit in playing a back and forth game if Levis is your starter and he's not getting the reps. I'm totally with you. But, like, I'm trying to see, like, why you would split it. You're either legitimately going to, you're splitting reps on the packages or the situations where you're using Willis, or you're wanting Levis to go out there and just grab it and have a great practice week. Meanwhile, I guess it's also fair to say that Willis has been the backup, not Levis. So I reading into the whole conversation of the last 2 weeks of, okay, who would be the starter? Are they going to go to Willis because Levis has been the third? Well, the third guy's got to take the second string, and they're at least allowing us to know that the second string hasn't been good enough to be named the starter, but they're also not just allowing Levis to skip over him, when I think in this situation you might as well do it. Unless you're just going to straight up say, Willis is going to be used in situational aspects of our game plan, and we're going to use him to the best of his ability because we're going to do the same with Will Levis. We're going to let it rip, and we're going to run the football and let it rip when it's time to throw. Now, Will Levis is going to do that. but he's not going to be nearly as mobile or as athletic as Willis will give you in certain spots. Now, it's up to Willis to make the play, but I understand what they see and why they want to use him in certain moments. And I wouldn't force it, but I do think they know field position, what's at stake, what they need, and which players are involved in the play that Willis is going to be using and installed, why they're going to him instead of Levis.
Yeah, tricky situation from a lot of fronts, including internally with Malik Willis. Like Derek, you've been saying, you don't want to lose him, right? You want to keep him engaged. You don't want to feel like, hey, I got skipped without even getting my chance. Now that's you got to be delicate with that, but sometimes it is the reality. Like this, we drafted Will Levis for a reason after we already had you on the roster. So there's a reason they drafted Levis.
Well,
so
let me jump in one more time here, because here's an idea, like just a play in mind. On the play where Malik Willis he was supposed to outrun two defenders on the edge for the pylon in London. Spears was up top and turned his head for whatever reason to see if Willis had handed the football off to DeAndre Hopkins on the jet, and or flip pass on a jet, because that I guess the pass versus run would determine what Spears is going to do and how he blocks the play away from the ball. And by turning his head, he missed the block, and that's why the confusion happened on get out of bounds or go for the pylon. Well, has that been a play, for instance, that Levis has been running, and they want to use that in the red zone? Like that's the situations where I can see Willis in the game, just because he's clearly practiced it, because he ran it, he kept the ball on what looked like an RPO. It may be a keeper all the way. And you had Hopkins flash in front of his face. You also had Henry flare out of the backfield Hopkins' direction, and Willis went the opposite way. I think those are instances where Levis, as the scout team QB, hasn't necessarily been running those snaps.
Jonathan, what did you think of the decision to trade Byard and the return they got?
I mean, the return is better than I thought, honestly. A fifth and a sixth and a player. The fifth and the sixth helped more. And this was a team that had 6 picks. 3 of those 6 were 7th rounders before the trade. I mean, this is if we all agree, and I think we do, that Malik Willis isn't the starter next year. We also know that the depth wasn't going to improve all that much next year based on the draft capital that they had. They're going to have to make more moves. Doesn't necessarily have to be over the next few days, but the contract itself, Willie, set up the Titans to make this deal. Howie Roseman had called this past offseason about Byard. I know for a fact he's been very high on the Titans' safeties in years past, and he wanted to make a deal prior to making this one, and couldn't get it done based on the contract. So the whole restructure of what they did, or the pay cut right before the season, facilitated this. Byard gets to go back to Philly. I'm happy for him because he's playing for a contender. And just overall thoughts immediately is, man, one of the greatest to put on the jersey, and just overall what he embodied for the team and the community and the area. Just legit, self-made too. Like from Philly, moves in the 8th grade with his mom. When his mom and dad get divorced, in the 8th grade, moves to Atlanta. He's the second oldest, and he and his oldest brother, they end up raising the other, for the most part, raising the other 5 brothers and sisters that are in the house with them, because his mom was working 2, sometimes 3 jobs. So he would help get the kids a bath, get them dinner, make sure they did their homework, make sure they went to bed on time, all in the 8th and 9th grade. And I think that shaped him into the man he became and the mentality that he had. And this was even during a time where Kentucky offers him a scholarship. They pull the scholarship last minute. He was going to be a wide receiver, ends up being a safety at Middle Tennessee State because of that, and had options to leave while he was at Middle and chose not to, because he wasn't going to pull out the way that Kentucky did, and ends up with the Titans. The whole storyline fits the kind of guy that he is. And, he got paid and didn't walk out in a Boss Hog suit like Lawan. I mean, that's just the different mentality there. And he lived up to the expectations and then some.
I still look when that happened. When that happened, I was so upset. Like, dude, seriously, Taylor, this is what you resort to. It's like,
showboating.
Dude, it wasn't even a showboating. It was just like, man, do you know? I don't really want to go there. It's like, do you know what that whole show that you just can't do that, man. You can't.
And the opposite. I'm not. This is not.
And Byard was the opposite. Yeah. The contrast.
Taylor was a good player when he was when he was available. I think that's the bigger part. He was available. Byard was always in the game, even when starters are sitting out for rest for a win and end type game.
Okay, so
Byard's in the game.
Here is the follow-up question that to me is going to be a major chapter here, and that is, and we touched on it yesterday, that first press conference where Mike Vrabel is trying to wear both hats. Everybody knows he's in on the decision, unlike maybe what he could have played with the A.J. Brown. Joe wrote about this in The Athletic, a very good article about this issue of wearing both hats. When you're winning, it's a lot easier for the coach to be in the foxhole. This is my team. We're winning, and I'm making the decisions. I'm buying the groceries too. It's a little tougher when you're in this mode that we think they're about to go into, which is a little bit more of a developmental, a little more process, a little more plan for next year, the year after. How do you think he's going to handle that? Because we know we've learned a lot about Mike Vrabel, the competitor, the fiery player. That's what he takes with him as a coach. It is not easy to do both. It never is, but especially when you're in this position of you're going to have to turn this roster over.
Yes, and I mean, and now it's. I mean, perception is reality. Vrabel's calling a lot of the shots behind the scenes, and the other aspect as to why I think Vrabel needed to speak on it, and I think Carthon will speak after the trade deadline if they make another move or two. Because you want to make sure that you get the total message out there while, you're also open for business. And by the way, Vrabel was also the one that said that, they'll do anything possible to make their team better. A question that Caroline asked right before the bye. It wasn't Carthon. He's the man in charge. There's no other way people go to him. Reminds me a lot of Fisher. Because even when Floyd was up top, we would see him at practice. He would speak quite a bit, but you went to Fisher as kind of the figurehead of whatever they were doing to speak on the player that they had just moved. And I guess that's by design, but with Vrabel, I think it's more because he was not just he gave input, but he was heavy on the input with the decision to do something, because this is not a coach that would sign up for trading a veteran and a captain and a true leader behind the scenes and just be okay with the decision over a phone call, a text, or a quick little chat before you went out to practice. And the other part of it, Willie, I think is, and just reading the tea leaves, it was Carthon who asked for the pay cut, right? That's at least the reading of the room. And it was Vrabel who said he appreciated Kevin being a true pro and all that as soon as they got to camp. And here they are, and it's Vrabel that has to speak on it because Vrabel's been around him so long, and Carthon had not been. So I think that all that plays a factor into the messaging. But make no mistake, Vrabel had the say on this, and it was Rand's crew that came up with the deal. I mean, that's how I read it. And if you want to have a collaboration, that's how I would see the collaboration going down in those efforts.
Last one for me, Hutton, quickly. When you heard the news that the Titans were trading Kevin Byard, did you think that the Titans were, for lack of a better word, giving up on the season?
It depends. So here's what I thought. I still don't know. I still don't know the answer to that. When I saw that, I'm thinking, okay, the writing was on the wall for this because of what happened this offseason. And the fact that, the heavy hitters, the big money guys on defense aren't necessarily making those same plays we've seen. But I needed to see, okay, is this a for sale sign? Is this, we are open for business, wide open. There's no untouchables. We welcome all that wants to come in and see what we have out for the yard sale. Or is this, we need picks. The next time we can do this is in the off season, and we can't trade Kevin Byard in the off season. So we don't want to trade. So let's do it now and get what we can. Plus Howie's willing to give us a safety in return, plus 2 picks. I don't know. I think it's a combination of both, but if they start trading more vets, Caroline, that's when I think, that's a much more difficult sale behind the scenes than we traded away a vet that was very tough, but we have to do both. And it's the hard line of the business, and he's going somewhere where he wants to be, and we're where we need to be going into the off season with more picks than what we had, which was just 3 picks other than 7th rounders. So it's the chapter is not written on the trade deadline yet. I need to see all of that, but it would certainly tell us by trading him when they did that I don't necessarily think 3 wins instead of 2 changes what happens with this deal. And it's just based on the timing of it. They had another week to wait if they wanted to and chose not to.
Jonathan Hutton, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. Hutton, always appreciate our time with you on Wednesdays. We'll chat next week.
Thank you so much. And I cannot wait to see how the team responds to all this. They've played well at home, and the Atlanta Falcons are certainly beatable. And this is typically where Vrabel gets a good performance and has good coaching moments with plays. So I'm very eager to see what happens against his former OC.
It really has. It's been a juicy little bye week. What better way to keep it going than a win?
The line has gone from 1 to 2.5. The Falcons are now the favorites. It started Falcons by 1, now it's Falcons by 2.5.
I wonder what it would be if Malik Willis was named the starter.
Same. 5. Well, 5, 7.
Ian Rappaport knows people. Vegas knows people too.
So
they're setting that line with some knowledge, I think.
That's true. They are also factoring in Atlanta.
Oh, no, Will, are you saying with some knowledge of the trades that are coming up?
No, I think with some knowledge of what the Titans look like at quarterback. Yeah. Like I think they get their share of injury information. They get their share of inside sources, things like that. True? Right? Yeah. I mean, the line's usually pretty good. They're usually pretty good at having an accurate line. Do. I think it's
no doubt they do.
I'm curious now when the people start making their wagers, does the line move even more? Is one way or the other?
Have you heard the conspiracy on Bijan Robinson from last week? Can I give this in the
NFL is investigating Falcons, aren't they? Aren't they?
So fantasy football, leagues are all up in arms, right? Because he was active, there was no injury report, whatever. But he played like 13 snaps, and with 33 seconds left to go in the game, he had a carry. And the theory, again, conspiracy theory is that carry and those snaps took place in order to make sure that Vegas and the sports books and the apps that the NFL is in partnership with could say that there was no trying to underline message of not being on the injury report with a headache the night before and not feeling right. And that no refunds would have to be issued on bets or parlays placed with the Falcons last week and the Bucs. That's the conspiracy theory.
I might put some stock in that if it was a decided game, but the game went down to literally the last play.
And the Falcons won the game, right?
On the last play of the game.
If Bijan doesn't record a stat in that game, all of his stat lines are all voided in parlays and wagers. So if that's voided, it would have all been held regular standard to anybody that was betting on Bijan.
So what would be the communication system of getting to Arthur? Arthur, I know you're trying to win this game and win a division, but we need you to give the ball to Bijan at least one time before the game. Is there somebody Roger Goodell has a special frequency there? Like how would that work?
Smith's secretary knocks on his door like, Arthur, Caesar's Sportsbook is on the line.
Yeah, you're trying to get him to play, but he doesn't feel right. And it's like, hey, you don't want to play him. He doesn't feel right. You intended on him being available, but he's active. He's not on the injury report. Why is he not playing? I mean, that's again. I'm not all the way in on that. I just it's not about fantasy football. A lot of the fantasy sites are writing about it. It's not about fantasy football. Why that rule's in place where you have to disclose how a guy feels, or after you make a road trip, how he wakes up in the hotel.
Right.
So
I like that conspiracy. They
Me
did
too.
not. They didn't build those fancy buildings in the
Hut, you
desert
just
for
gave
no
two
reason.
people that love conspiracies
I
a
love
great
love a good
conspiracy. Now we're done for the rest of the we're done for the rest of the week.
Sorry, Willie.
Yeah, like the X-Files over here.
Hey, he's going to play a lot on Sunday. Let's
Mulder
put it
and
that way.
Scully to my left here. Ooh, the Falcons beat John. Ooh, let's get on the case. Let's get on the case.
Hutton,
We need to
you
call
are
Arthur,
the
Mason and
best.
Arthur
Fenton.
Smith, not Arthur. Arthur Blank, not Arthur Smith.
All the Arthurs. Hutton, you're the best. We'll chat soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Always enjoy this. Have a great week.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Let's continue the conversation because you've got a bunch of thoughts and we've got a bunch of thoughts. And one thought that I've had is, what does success for Will Levis look like on Sunday? Doesn't necessarily have to show up on the scoreboard, but what would quantify, quote unquote, success, if I can borrow one of Joe Rexroad's gestures of his air quotes. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Hi, this is Warren Moon, former quarterback for the Houston Oilers, 9-time Pro Bowler, and a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. When I played, I worked hard to train my body and practice to make sure I was prepared on game day. That's what boosters do for your immune system and why I chose to get boosted. Preparation keeps your game ready. Talk to your doctor. Make sure you're up to date on all your shots and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Find a shot near you by visiting vaccines.gov today.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
When it comes to shopping for home and auto insurance, the companies that usually come to mind can only offer one coverage option. So, if you want to compare prices, you're forced to visit multiple websites just to get one quote at a time, but not with Zander Insurance. Zander is a broker that works for you, shopping dozens of top-rated companies to find you the best rates this year and every year so your price stays competitive, keeping your life simple and hassle-free. Compare rates all in one place at Zander.com, or for a more personal touch, call 800-356-1780.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. So minivans, sedans, JDMs, roll out. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. And with eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey, Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app. Hey, tune in to 94.9 The Fan this Saturday for our college football game of the week, presented by Twin Peaks as Vanderbilt takes on Mississippi Ole Miss at 6:30 p.m. with pregame beginning at 5 p.m. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks for scenic views of all the hottest college football games across the country and home of the 29-degree beer. So we heard this morning from Ian Rappaport, Will Levis is getting the start. And my first thought was, well, that's weird. That doesn't sound like a Vrabel thing to spill the beans in the middle of the week. So who is that coming from? Where was that report from? And then we heard from Mike Vrabel earlier at his press conference when he said, I never said that Will was going to be the starter. So Vrabel is still trying to continue to paint this picture of we could see any three of the quarterbacks, Tannehill included. But we can see the writing on the wall. We're smart enough to understand that we will not see Tannehill on Sunday. I feel confident in saying that. That's based off of zero reporting. But he's not practicing today. It's Wednesday. We're not going to see Tannehill. I think it's probably more likely than not we're going to see Levis get the start on Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I think listen, Malik Willis, you've given him opportunities, albeit they were not under the best circumstances. I get it, and I feel for the kid. I really do. But there are things within the game that, regardless of what situation you're in, you have to be able to execute those things or know those things. And it just seemed like Malik Willis, those small things, he hasn't quite grasped yet. Because it's not just one small thing. It seems like there's multiple small things which add up to bigger things. So you look at it and say, well, Malik's had his opportunity. Will he get another one? I don't know. Maybe. Will he play again? Maybe. I don't know. If you listen to Vrabel, yeah, he will play this weekend. But I think now you got to give Will Levis an opportunity. You drafted this guy in the second round. You moved up to get him. This situation is it's not ideal considering the personnel around him, but it is ideal from the standpoint of, okay, it was like, okay, when do we insert this young man into the game? If everything's, perfect, then we would have never gotten an opportunity to truly see who he was as a quarterback or who he is as a quarterback. And then you go into the draft, and I hate to sort of jump all the way to the end of the year, but you go into the draft with a class of quarterbacks that many believe is one of the best classes in decades. Just the guys that are coming out, 3, 4, 5 guys that are coming out. So you got to know what you have in your quarterback. Let him go out there and, guide him through it and see how he looks. Again, I don't care about the wins and losses because to me this is not a good roster. I care about the improvement of the quarterback. Is he improving? The problem with Malik Willis, he never improved. Like during last season, and then he looks better this year than he did last year, but that's not saying it's not good enough. Yeah. Exactly. It's not good enough to be a starter in this league. So now you got to give Will Levis an opportunity. You have to. And you got to give him an opportunity in a sense of going out there and just play quarterback. Just play within the parameters we're going to give you. We're going to help you. But go out there and just play football. Don't worry about making mistakes. What you see, believe it. Throw the ball. Don't hesitate. And if he does that, do we want to win? Yes. But if we don't get it, all right, cool. We look at this team and we don't think we're going to get a lot of wins anyway. But if my quarterback is improving, that tells me going into the draft what I don't need. Because that's going to be the big question. Do I need a quarterback or do I not need a quarterback in this year's draft? Mm-hmm. Because to me, you couldn't do this 20 years ago. You couldn't draft a quarterback one year, then the next year you draft a quarterback, then the next year you draft a quarterback. 20 years ago, you couldn't do that.
You still can't really do it now.
You can do it. You can do it a little bit. You can do it better. You can do it now a little bit better than you could back then.
And it's still not ideal. But
because a lot of money isn't tied up in that core. Back then, these quarterbacks they were coming in. If you were a first round pick,
before they ever took a snap.
If you were the first pick in the draft, you were making more money than just about any quarterback out there.
That's crazy.
So now it's a little bit easier for you to do it. It's not ideal, like you said, Willie, but they need to find out if this kid can play. Not only play, can you command an offensive team? Can you be the leader, just the leader of the offense for now? Can you do that? If we see that, then we're good. If we don't see that, then we got problems.
And I would like to see a few throws where I say to myself, dang, that's a big-time throw. And and we all like Malik Willis and his makeup and his work. I haven't seen that. I just haven't seen him make a play like that. Not in an NFL regular season game. Some nice plays here and there in the preseason, but nothing that has me going, wow. That's what I'm hoping to see, a ceiling to shoot for with some mistakes in there, but flash me some brilliance. That's what I would look for. That's what I'm looking for success. And then let's work with all the things you're talking about, the leadership and working on the quiet time where you're working in the film room and understanding the game more and more. These are things that are going to take more time. But I'm hoping in the meantime we see some things that you can grasp onto, say, woo, this guy does this big – he's got big-time skill. That's what Richardson, right? Richardson's throw, he's the ultimate example of, wow, did you see that throw? Like the one play where he fires it it puts it right between two. That was he made a couple incredible throws. That's what you're hoping for, to say this guy could get somewhere. I think that's the early thing that I'm looking for from Levis.
I'm still terrified of this offensive line in front of Will Levis. I am.
But the best guys, the best quarterbacks are picked high in the draft, usually with bad teams.
Right.
So you're going to have to make it work with weak offensive lines and limitations somewhere. But somewhere in there, overcome it, at least for some of the time, right? Without getting killed. That's the trick.
What I'm scared of getting
He's
Will
gonna get
Levis killed. Because if this offensive
Many
line,
have.
Right. If this
over the
offensive
years.
line is if Tannehill bad behind this offensive line, if Tannehill gets hurt behind this offensive line, I'm terrified of a rookie quarterback who doesn't necessarily know how to protect himself behind this offensive line. But all of that being said, because Will Levis is going to get the start, I'm excited to see what you have in him, because we don't know anything about Will Levis. Because, we could ask the question, does Will Levis give you the best chance to win? We have no idea.
Yeah, and that's why you should play him, to find out.
And I'm still terrified of Will Levis behind this offensive line. But I have no idea if he gives you the best chance to win. If he's getting the start on Sunday, I guess we can probably assume that he gives you the best chance to win, that this team believes that he gives you the best chance to win. I don't know how much that's really saying, considering what we've seen from Malik Willis so far this season. But I'm excited to at least see where he's at, just to get a little bit of a sample size. We haven't seen anything from Will Levis in months.
Can you come to grips, though, as a fan, and I'm talking to everybody right now who follows the team, can you be in a mode where you are willing to say, if they win, great. If not, they're trying to do what they have to do to build a contender. They're not a contender right now.
No.
So how do you get back there? Well, we got to find out if Will Levis can play. Is that not exactly what the Predators are trying to do? Now, I'm not saying what they're doing is going to work. Nobody knows, right? I was on a Vancouver station yesterday, and they asked a question, and I referenced our show a number of times. They asked the question, do you need to break it all the way down so you can have the high picks and go through the pain? Is that the best way to go, as opposed to what the Predators are trying to do and stay competitive, do all the things we've been talking about? I feel like that's kind of where the Titans are. They're in the middle. They're not going full breakdown yet. Now they could decide ultimately, because they feel like they have no choice. Maybe they end up doing something like that. But in the meantime, they have tried to stay competitive. Hasn't gone well, but now they're moving the needle more towards, let's look at next year and the year after. So can the fans accept that? I'm asking that because the Predator fans, I'm surprised. Maybe some aren't, but they're going with it, right? They're in on it. They're buying into, hey, if we win, that's great. But I want to see the young guys. I want to see if these guys who are exciting can turn into something. Now, someday, if those guys turn into pumpkins, then the fans will get rest. We got to do something else, But don't we think we're there for the Titans?
I think it works.
If Levis is playing, are we really worried if they win the game, Ron?
I said I'm not, because I just want to see the quarterback get better each time that he goes out there. Whether it's a 1%, 2%, 10%, 20%, whatever. I just want to see him get better. That's what the team wants to see. That's what the guys on offense, those veteran guys that are still there, they want to see. So as they're going through the season, it's hope that things will eventually get better. We may not make the playoffs this year, more than likely we want, but those veteran guys that are going to be here next year, they're looking at, okay, we believe that he is the guy.
Yeah.
He can do it for us. It works for the Predators because it's one voice, and he's being truthful and honest with you. This is what's going on. It's going to take us some time. Be patient. He's not giving you this back and forth message. It's straight ahead. This is what we're doing. We want you, we know you're going to be in, we know there's going to be some pain in there, but we're telling you it. So still come out and support us, because eventually we believe it's going to be back where it needs to be. That's where the Titans need to eventually get to. Like, listen, fans, this is what we're doing. There may be some bad times here when the next, how many games? 10, 12 games, 12 games left. There may be some bad times, but this is our focus moving forward.
I think it's unfair to say that the barometer of success for Will Levis is a win or a loss.
Exactly, yeah.
That's totally unfair.
Because what if he plays bad, but they still win?
Or if he plays pretty well and
Exactly.
they still lose.
Exactly.
We've seen both of those scenarios with this team.
Well, that's an interesting proposition. Is what would you rather see? Some real promise. I mean, again, it's only one game. So you got to give him 5-10 games at least, right? Some people would say he needs 20 games before you really know what you have. But if he lights it up and they lose 29-28, what's better long term as opposed to he really struggles, but they pull a variable special and fake a punt or something and win 12-10. Which
gotta win.
Both are possible, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I know there's a really big part of the fan base that's so ready for this and so excited for this because they view Will Levis as the savior of the franchise.
Except for the Tennessee fans that think he's terrible because he played bad against Tennessee.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's get past that.
But let's not go there. Let's not go there today.
Yeah, right. Let's put Joe Milton out there.
He lost to Vanderbilt too, but I'm not going there. We're not going to go there.
We'll always go there every time. But the big portion of the fan base that's ready for Will Levis because he's the savior of the franchise. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. But we're not going to know that on Sunday. So that's the warning that I would like to heed to all of these fans that are like, yes, thank you, Will Levis. Thank you. You're going to save everything. If he doesn't play well on Sunday, it doesn't mean that he's terrible. It doesn't mean that he's awful. It doesn't mean that you should tank for Caleb Williams in the first overall pick. I think that we can just pick up on what we've seen from Will Levis and say, this is good, this is bad, this is what you need to go back with the drawing board to.
When we come back, let's give the cautionary tale of another team that has gone through something and where they are right now. I think it's an interesting thing that hopefully does not happen with the Titans.
Let's get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Whether it's college football,
players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia,
or the NFL,
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman and Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Harbor Freight, we think you shouldn't have to break the bank to get great tools. Because we know that for some of you, tools are part of the job. And for others, they're just the beginning of making, fixing, restoring, and building. That's why we make high-quality tools that are priced affordably. Because we love being the start of all your working, making, fixing, restoring, and building. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue is your home for hockey action all season long. They are Predators approved and all the games are on, and they'll even give you the sound. Get awesome game day drink specials on Blue Note Bourbon and Black Abbey Beer. When you think hockey, think Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, or Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue. Go Preds!
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Blue Raider fans, your home for all the MTSU football and men's basketball action is on 93.3 Classic Hits and 95.1 Classic Hits in the borough. Catch the action all season long with Chip Walters on the call. Go Blue Raiders!
I'm calling it early. Kohl's is the best place to shop for gifts.
I got a Sephora beauty set for under $50. Then I scored a cute sweater for just $24.99 and saved big on a Ninja pressure cooker. Plus, I got 20% off some of my finds, $10 off because I spent over $50, and earned Kohl's Cash. So hurry to Kohl's and thank me later. Select styles, Sephora coupons, and Kohl's Cash do not apply. Some exclusions apply. Offers end October 29th. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome. Hey, join 102.5 The Game and Chase McCabe for the grand opening of Prince's Hot Chicken at the brand new Tanger Outlets in Antioch this Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Come hang out with the Suit for a chance to win Preds tickets and enjoy the best hot chicken in Nashville from Prince's Hot Chicken, Nashville's original hot chicken restaurant. So we're breaking down Will Levis. What is the barometer for success for Levis? I frankly don't think it's fair to say, well, if you win the game, then he's great. If you lose the game, then he's awful. Let's be real here. Let's get into some of your thoughts on that. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland is on the line with a thought on Mike Vrabel's press conference. What's up, Adam?
Hey, is he more stressed than usual? Like, I feel like that dude's really stressed. Like, he seems pissed, man. He's just mad at everybody.
Pissed at Joe's hands.
You know what it is? I think, like, between the nostalgia going back to where he was and being great and them loving him and then just coming back to the responsibility here and how bad things are here, I think he's just over it, man. You know what? I'm here for it. I'm so excited about it because I've kind of seen some stuff with Vrabel. I've seen – I don't know if he's phony. I don't want to call him phony straight up, but the facts, not my opinion, the facts of Mike Vrabel – or that he got this job because of how he was as a player, not as a coach. And I know as a coordinator, he led the 32nd ranked defense before he got the head coaching job. He's now a head coach, but he inherited a winner. He did not inherit a loser team. So I'm curious, man. Like, things are about to get real shaky and spicy, dude. I want to see how what are you going to be like when things are good? And so far, he seems pretty hot-headed. So I'm here for it, dude. I got the popcorn. Who else is he going to yell at? Caroline, are you next? Like, is he going to yell at all y'all? Like,
I guess so.
We are avoiding that building.
D-Mase, I don't think he would talk crazy to you because you're a player, but yeah, I think he's going to just roast everybody like Def Comedy Jam, man.
Yeah, my goodness. So are you out on Vrabel, Adam?
So I've been out on Tannehill, so it's hard for me to just be that guy and be out on everybody. I would like to see what he looks like with the next quarterback because obviously Levis is his. Y'all are totally right and Jonathan Hutton's totally right when he says that, like, Vrabel has the decisions right now. So if Levis sucks, then yeah, I'm out. But, we got to at least see. I just want to see what he looks like when we lose, and so far he looks like a baby.
Thank you for your call, Adam. To Adam's point, like, if Vrabel feels more stressed or acts more stressed, he should be stressed. He's 2-11 in the last 13 games. Their quarterback's hurt, and they just traded away a captain. I'm sure he's stressed. But it's what do you do from here? What kind of hope can you give the fan base? Whether that's winning games this season or, hey, the quarterback of the future looks pretty good. Looks like he's coming along pretty well. Whatever kind of hope that you can just hang on to. That's what I think this fan base needs.
Well, I mean, this has been a gradual sort of, for Vrabel at least, I think it's been a gradual, just like irritation. You go through first. It's how we and again, you hate to sort of relitigate what happened in the past, but you can, if you just follow the trend, you lose to Cincinnati because your quarterback throws in 3 interceptions. You have to get on the podium and then say, well, we need to be great around our quarterback, which essentially means my quarterback's not good enough. But then you got to double back and clear everything up. Then you go into the next season. Things are looking great. You're 7-2, whatever it was, and all of a sudden, rash of injuries. Quarterback goes down. Now you lose 8 games in a row. Your GM gets fired. Now all this is starting to build up. And then you get into this season. And I didn't even talk about trading away A.J. Brown, but you get in this season, and it's like you have hope. You go down to New Orleans, and your quarterback starts the season off horrible. Then you're 0-1. Then I believe you're 0-2. And then you win some games, and then you lose. Then your quarterback gets hurt again. Then you trade away your safety. It just seems like it's going gradually downhill. And I think he's trying to save face, but he's getting irritated now. And listen, it comes with the job, dude. I mean, but when things are great.
Job or jobs?
Jobs.
Because now.
Okay, I get what you're saying now, Willie.
So I think that's an interesting part of when I hear Adam talk about it. Is he more frustrated? I don't know. We've heard snippy press conferences before. It's kind of fun.
He's always on it.
Especially for us. We're just sitting here listening to it live. I've been, I'm usually, I'm not in the position unless they have a 9 a.m. press conference or something like that. I'm not going to be able to be there.
It's fun
but
when you're not on the
you're
receiving
sitting
end of
back
a
listening
death
to
stare.
it, and so you take note. We're all listening intently. But now what could be adding a level of stress is now he's got maybe a little bit more responsibility in where they go, the decisions they make for the long term, which is really tough, really tough. Whereas before, he could have just said, look, I didn't want to trade A.J. Brown, but they traded him. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, now there is something he can do about it. But now he's got that extra layer of responsibility.
I don't have any sympathy.
No.
You wanted it, right?
This is
what
what
he
you
signed up.
wanted.
That's what he signed up for.
This is what you've got, and you can no longer play both sides of it. You can no longer make moves at the trade deadline and then come back and say, well, we're still trying to be competitive and we're still trying to win, because it's two contradicting ideas. I understand he's in a really difficult position, but this is the job. And I understand that you're in a difficult position now, that your starting quarterback goes down. You trade away Kevin Byard, that things feel uncomfortable. You're 2-4 on the season. Things feel uncomfortable. You need some sort of positivity, but that's the job, man.
Yeah, you signed up for it. This is what you wanted. You got more responsibilities. And now no one's looking above you. They're looking right at you because everything is coming from you. So how do you handle that as a head coach? It seems like today he's just got a little snippy. But listen, if you don't start winning, it's going to get even worse. Those questions are going to keep coming and coming and coming, and you got to be able to. And I'm not saying he can. I'm sure he can. But you're going to have to answer all these questions. I just hope, for his sake, that Levis goes out there and he plays well. Again, he doesn't have to get the victory, but for his sake, Willis needs to play well, because if Willis doesn't play well, Levis, excuse me. If Levis doesn't play well, then nobody's looking at Rand Carthon. Yeah. Nobody's looking at Rand Carthon.
No.
Everybody's looking at Mike Vrabel, and it's going to continue to heat up, getting hotter and hotter.
Like Robert texts into the text line, says, I think Mike is frustrated that Byard was traded. I don't think he was on board.
He's the GM.
Mike Vrabel makes the decisions now.
He's in on it. If you can argue if he's making the decision, but at the very least,
he has a bigger hand in it.
On the decision. Yeah. He's signing off on these decisions.
Yeah, it's like
and it was the right thing to do. I admire that he was willing to do that, because that's not easy when you're the coach. But what's shifting is the decisions they're making about the roster in the future are probably taking precedent or priority over whether they win the games or not on Sunday this year. That's the reality of it. They need to restock.
Well, yeah, and he's at first when John Robinson was here, he wasn't in the room, and I'm sure he wanted to be in the room. It's sort of like the play. I forget the name of the play, where it talked about I want to be in the room when it happens. The guy always wanted to get in the room. I don't know why. I can't remember the play because I watched it about 1,000,000 times. It came here twice, and I watched it on one of the streams. But in one of the scenes, it was like, I want to be in the room when it happens. I want to be in the room where the decisions are made, and the guy was never in the room when he finally got in the room. That's Vrabel. Vrabel wasn't in the room. Now he's in the room, and you have a bigger say of what's going on. Now you can't deflect. No more deflecting to this person or this person. So if Kevin Byard got traded, you knew what was happening. You had a say in it. So you can't be mad about that. At least I don't think.
No. and these are Mike Vrabel moves. There's no move that's made without the express written consent of Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and D-Mase at Teddy's Tavern, located across from the Bridgestone Arena Plaza this Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30. They'll break down the Titans' Week 8 matchup against the Falcons and give you the latest updates before the game. Our NFL pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and the Beast Unleashed.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Prince's Hot Chicken is Nashville's original hot chicken restaurant, serving up the gold standard of hot chicken for almost 100 years. Whether you get their tenders, wings, whole chicken, their Andre chicken sandwich, or one of their fabulous sides, you will not be disappointed with this Nashville staple. Ranging from plain to mild to hot, Prince's has something for everyone. There's even the XXX hot flavor for the adventurous types. You've been warned. Prince's Hot Chicken has multiple locations in Nashville, with their newest location opening at the Tanger Outlets in Antioch, October 27th. Prince's, Nashville's original hot chicken. This week's Nashville's Best Deal is from Nashville's largest axe-throwing venue, Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for $25. Aim for a great time while enjoying panoramic downtown views, live music, curated cocktails from the full bar, and a Northwoods-inspired menu with a Southern twist. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville welcomes axe throwers and non-axe throwers alike. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, 648 Fogg Street.
Hey, it's John Tesh. We've all felt the impact of inflation on everything from food to housing to gas. But most people don't realize the cost of your home and auto insurance is also likely to go up. With the rising cost of building materials, car parts, and labor, even the insurance companies are taking a hit, which means you will too. So if you're working with a company that only has one option and not a company that shops multiple carriers to find the best deal, you're wasting your money. It's why you should be working with Zander Insurance. They represent over 24 top insurance companies that are competing for your business, meaning you get the right home and auto coverage at the lowest prices this year and every year. And Zander's service can't be beat, I know from experience. Just check out their reviews. Saving money has to be a priority these days. Go to Zander.com or call 800-356-4282 and find out how much you can save. You'll see why over 500,000 families trust Zander.
Your Game Center update.
This is Nick Frazier. Yesterday, Derrick Henry spoke to the media ahead of the Titans matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons. Henry was asked if he wanted to play somewhere where he can win a Super Bowl, and here was his response.
Have I said anything like that?
No. So would you not want to go somewhere to win a Super Bowl?
I'm here. I'm here at work, ready to go practice and focus on beating the Falcons. Anything else, I can't worry about.
The Titans recently traded All-Pro safety Kevin Byard to the Philadelphia Eagles for 2024 5th and 6th round draft picks, with also including Terrell Edmonds. Could Derrick Henry be on the move? Last night in the NBA, it was opening night as teams tipped off their season. The Lakers took on the defending champions, the Denver Nuggets. LeBron and the Lakers made it close in the first two quarters, but as the game progressed, the Nuggets started to ease away with the score. Star center for the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, started his season off with a 29-point triple-double, helping his team to a 119-107 victory. I'm Nick Frazier, and you're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's going to coach
Shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves.
The Game.
a Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willie, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios. And we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Ian Rappaport reported this morning that Will Levis would get the start. Mike Vrabel, not quite willing to spill the beans on that. He said, I never said that Will Levis was going to be the starter. Mike Vrabel continuing to harp on the fact that, hey, Tannehill could be available. I don't think that he will be. So I think that Will Levis is going to get the start. But one thought that I've had ever since this morning, what if Will Levis is awesome?
Well,
Like, what if he plays lights out?
it's his job. Point blank.
Yep.
There's no, when Ryan comes back, we're going to know. If he plays well and he plays well again, it doesn't matter to me whether they get the win or the loss. In this situation, obviously you want to win, and you figure if he plays well, that should equate to a win. But in situations like this, when you have a young quarterback, I think any coach, want to see progression. They want to see the young guy get better each game. And getting better sometimes may not come with the win. It may not. So if come out Sunday against the Falcons, he play well. He should. He's in that powder blue. He better play well. But he play well, in that blue.
It is Oilers week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Oilers week.
Yeah.
So you play well in that blue. You come back off a short week, and on a Thursday, and you come back and you play a decent game. Then it has to be his team now. You can't then, if Ryan is healthy or healthy enough to go, I don't think he will ever be 100% this season. Healthy, you can't then say, young guy, yeah, you did good. Go sit back on the bench. Yeah. You can't do that. Once you say he's the starter, he starts to do well, you're committed to him now, end of the season, unless injury happens. Even if he falters in a game moving forward after that, you got to commit to him. He's your guy. At least that's my thinking. I don't think then you can pull him back and say, nah, well, you played bad after 3 games. Well, this game you played bad. No, let the guy ride it out, man.
It's a tough sell. My follow-up question would be, how likely do we think that is? And it's hard to say because we haven't seen Will Levis since the first preseason game. But also, given the pieces around him, like how set up for success is he really?
I'm keeping my expectations tempered for sure. But as you're talking about this, D-Mase, there's a lot of different ways it can go. I think the likely scenario is he has some ups and downs. Hopefully, enough ups to where you're excited about the next week and giving him another chance. Can he take another step forward? And you do what you can to protect him, put him in a position to succeed. So all that being said, it would almost be disappointing to some if they ended up going back to Tannehill in any scenario, because that would mean that Levis and then maybe in some form Willis are doing so poor that they have to the boat's taking on too much water and they have to go backwards almost and play Tannehill just because they think it's better for them not to play than to play. Like at this point, you hope that they're playing well enough, particularly Levis, that you want to keep seeing him play, right? Or he's getting hurt, right? Because I think the other scenario is they get back into contention, and then if so, why are they getting back into contention? Levis probably would have something to do with that, and you're not going to play Tannehill anyway.
Yeah.
So Tannehill's options of getting back in there are pretty limited right now.
Yeah. Again, I think it all sort of predicates on how this game goes this weekend. As far as him, not necessarily wins or losses. How does he look this weekend? Then, if he looks pretty good, you move on to the next this upcoming Thursday. Well, not tomorrow, but the next following Thursday. And you throw him in there off a short week. There's going to be some mistakes because it's a short week and you don't have as much time to prepare. But how does he, even if he plays well against Atlanta, how then does he bounce back in such a short week? You got to look at the scenario around him.
In Pittsburgh, against that good defense.
Say if he plays bad, you got to take that as an isolated game because it's not ideal. You play on Sunday, then you play on Thursday. That's not ideal for a young quarterback like that, especially in this situation. You would rather give him a full week and then have to go to a hostile environment like Pittsburgh. I still call it Heinz Field. I don't know what it's called now.
Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah, Heinz Field. You go to Heinz Field with that defense against that team that seems like they're starting to pick up a little bit momentum after their win last week. I think you got to almost take that game as, okay, if he plays well, great. It's good for us. If he doesn't, then I got to take that as an isolated, because it's coming off a short week against an opponent that they're going to bring the kitchen sink and try to rattle this young quarterback. So you got to look at it as sort of as a isolated incident, and then moving forward, you hope that now he gets into the rhythm of, every Sunday we're playing, and you can prepare better with the full week.
And I have thought about it too. If he plays well, keep riding with him.
Mm-hmm.
See if he can make progression week over week over week, and it's not just beginner's luck, so to speak, that he really looks like he's coming into his own. But the other side of it too, if Levis is just awful, like absolutely terrible.
Oh, please don't let that happen.
Do you continue to ride him on Sunday? Like, do you let him just try to work out those kinks?
Okay, so how many games are we talking? 2? Let's just,
I was just saying.
No, she was just saying Sunday. Yeah, like if he plays bad, like if he's just god awful.
He looks
so you would
rattled.
play Willis against the Steelers, or would you hope that Tannehill at 80%?
I'm not bringing Tannehill back. Not against the Pittsburgh Steelers on a short week. No. I'm not doing that.
So you're saying we go with Willis then?
I guess you would. Worst case scenario. And it's not worst case scenario because I think Willis is that bad of a quarterback. I don't think he's a starter in this league, but I go back to, I've seen some bad quarterbacks in this league. And he's far from the bad quarterbacks that I've seen. He's not a starter, but it's going to take him a while.
Who would be worse?
I'll give you one that I had the thought, and it's not anything against.
I'm
this
not
guy.
going to even say names,
but I'm not even say he's a bad quarterback. But who was it that I saw on Sunday? And I'm saying to myself, Brian Hoyer is the best option for this team right now. Brian Hoyer's got to be 48 years old, 55 years old,
around there.
But he was playing in it. Who was he playing for? He played for somebody. Who was he playing for last
The
week?
Raiders.
Yeah. Garoppolo's hurt. Brian Hoyer is out there. Brian Hoyer was like 10 years ago Tom Brady's backup.
Yeah.
He wasn't that good back then. This is your backup. This is not like the emergency break glass if. Remember, who was the guy, Josh, whatever, that the...
Josh for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Josh Cribbs.
And there's another guy I'm thinking of, too.
Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. But, there are certain guys on the street that are a phone call away. You bring them in an emergency. But this was their backup, Brian Hoyer.
I think initially he was the third string this year, Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, Aiden O'Connell, the rookie, yeah.
I think he either got hurt or he was not panning out for him, one or the other.
Yeah, he played against the Chargers. Good call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor had a pretty good day.
Yeah.
He looked better than Daniel Jones.
No, that guy's doing his job.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I just think, with this team, I'm going to say this, and it may happen or not. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to be underneath center again for the Tennessee Titans. I just don't, unless injury, or unless those two guys are just so awful that, hell, you might as well put Derrick Henry at quarterback.
Young Peyton Manning.
Yeah. I don't see Ryan Tannehill underneath center anymore for the Tennessee Titans. He has an expiring contract. He's injured. This offensive line isn't what it needs to be. If I'm Ryan Tannehill, I know he's a competitor. I know he wants to get back out there. But if I'm Ryan Tannehill, man, you're mid-30s. You need to be healthy for the offseason, and you need to get a jump on it right now. I don't think he's going to be the Titans quarterback moving forward unless these two guys are just, more importantly, Will Levis, unless he's just terrible, like Charles Barkley, terrible.
Even if he is terrible, though, that if he's that terrible, then you lose both of these games. And I'm going to say both of these games, anticipating that Ryan Tannehill would not be available on the short week against Pittsburgh. Maybe that's not fair of me to assume, but I'll just go ahead and assume. So you'll go 0-2 in that next stretch. So you're 2-6. At that point, what's the point of bringing back Ryan Tannehill?
See, these are the things that I think about, like the different scenarios that could play out. A lot of them equal what you're saying, that there's just no good reason to bring him back in.
Exactly. Like, why? He's not 100%. This offensive line isn't good. We don't know what Traylon Burks say. Yeah, he's gonna play, but he can get injured again. Mm-hmm. There's just not enough things going in the Titans' direction for them. There's not enough good things on their side to force them to put Ryan Tannehill back underneath center. If I'm Amy, I'm like, listen, let's see what we have in our young quarterback, Will Levis, and let's roll with it. Ryan, thank you for everything you've done. You've been a consummate pro. You fought through injuries, but we got to move on. We're going to move on anyway after the season. Now we're moving on. Break in case of emergency with Ryan Tannehill. In case of emergency, meaning both guys go down or something happen. But other than that, I am not putting Ryan Tannehill back underneath center. That fans may not want to hear it. People will go back and forth and try to, no, that's not the case. I just think there's a reason why, even though he's coy with it, Vrabel, there's a reason why Levis is being named, at least unofficially, being named the starting quarterback of this team. His tenure starts this Sunday, and they're not looking back. They're not. I wouldn't look back if I'm an organization. Why should I look back?
If they win games in spite of the quarterback?
I'm still not looking back.
Let's say if you split these next two games.
Mm-hmm.
Again, assuming Tannehill's out for 2 games. We can't assume that, but I'm gonna. So now you're 3-5. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the end of the world. So if you look at it and you think, I think we're starting to figure some things out. I look at the next few games, and I think that a majority of them can be winnable. Mm-hmm. But if we're winning in spite of the young quarterback, we're going to have to put Ryan Tannehill back in.
Yeah.
If we think that this season is salvageable.
It's possible. At 3-5, I have a hard time really. We have to know what is Jacksonville doing. Have they hit a skid?
Well, Jacksonville, right? Houston.
I mean, so that's part of what you would have to consider. But I see what you're saying. That's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, but
not,
I just don't.
Not probable. Not probable, but it is possible.
I just can't see them. I just can't see them. I truly believe, and again, I could be wrong, and I will get on the radio and say, hey, I was wrong in this situation. I just thought, you might as well do it. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it now. It's a perfect opportunity. The door's open for you to do it, so do it. I just think because of the situation, and especially, I believe especially if they don't win this game, say Will Levis does look okay. Because I think he's going to look okay. I don't think he's going to look bad. I think he's going to look okay. I think they're going to make another move before the trade deadline. I think they're going to make some other move or try to make another move before the trade deadline.
Who do you think it would be?
I think it's going to be D-Hop. I truly believe it's going. I think they would be doing him a favor. Mm-hmm. I truly do. People I've heard, well, he's under 2 years. It's not a 2-year deal. It's a 1-year deal, and they can get out of the second year. They can.
But
they're not
that
2-year
deal that they can get out of after the first.
They're not that dumb to put themselves in the ironclad 2-year deal where they got to pay this man all this money on a team that's sort of rebuilding. So to me, if they don't win this game, say Levis does look good, they're going to try to continue to build draft capital. They're looking to move. That's why Rand Carthon has not gotten in front of a podium yet, because they're not done. Not to say that it's 100% it's going to happen, but I think they're not done. They're going to try to move 1 or 2 more pieces to accumulate draft picks, and they might get a player or 2 back in that sort of exchange or that trade. They may get a player back and a draft pick, but I think there's another move coming, and if I'm Hop, to me it's like, do me a favor. Mm-hmm. I signed with y'all in hopes of, this team being good, Ryan Tannehill being a quarterback. I've given y'all what I had. It's not working. Can y'all send me somewhere where I can at least get an opportunity to make a playoff? They did it for Kevin Byard. Right. They could have sent Kevin anywhere.
The hope is it's a win-win.
Exactly.
That the player doesn't walk away saying, you just threw me to the wolves. You sent me to Siberia or whatever. He gets something, and the signing for D-Hop would be worth it because you get an asset that you can do something with for him. Let's hope it's an asset worth considering, as opposed to what we talked about yesterday. having a guy like that to help be a security blanket for a young quarterback. That's what you're weighing. But if the net result, if D-Hop signs for 1 year and you cut him after the first year, or he is playing for a bad team next year and he ends up going, he gets cut at some point, then you have no asset and you're thinking, why'd you sign him to begin with? But if you turn him into an asset, then the signing is worth it. All the courting and all the things, even though it didn't maybe work out the way you wanted it to.
And it's not because of the player it didn't work out. It's just because of the team.
Stuff crumbled around. Yeah. Stuff didn't work out, right? They tried. They laid out the plan they hoped would work. Plan doesn't always work.
I'd say the trade, or the move, rather, was worthwhile already.
Yeah, no, it has been. Yeah.
But will you – yes, worth a shot. But
yeah.
It would be even more long-term worthwhile if they could turn him into an asset. If you give, you find a way to get a conditional pick, a fifth that turns into a fourth, whatever it might be. That's even better, right? That really makes it worthwhile because now you have a chance for that investment to carry on for not just 1 year.
But I think the Levis sort of tenure starts now. People get used to him being underneath center moving forward. That's just my belief. It may sound, I'm looking at Caroline, she's like, dang.
No, I don't disagree with you because we talked about this last week of, was the game in London the last time we saw Tannehill in a Titans uniform? That's something that Robbie brought up, and I thought, whoa, you're right. I don't think it's probable, but it totally is possible that Levis either could totally ball out, that Tannehill just isn't quite getting to 100% after the injury, that the team is just trying to go in a different direction, that the bites that they're getting at the trade deadline are just too good to pass up, and they're thinking, yeah, you know what, we're just going to completely pivot. It's more worth our while to start the young guy and get him experience. Those things are all possible 100%. So I'm not saying it's crazy. It's just wild to think about.
Yeah. It happens fast. It happens very fast. I mean, again, we can go over the questions, and we will sometime within the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
And that was one of the questions, like how many games would,
Will Levis start a game in 2023? That was
how many games would Tannehill play? And, it seems like it's come to a point where, not because of Ryan Tannehill, his play, even though he hadn't played well, but because of the injury. And now this team is looking to move in another direction. And they started it with Kevin Byard, and I believe it's going to continue by Tuesday, if depending on what happens in this game, and depending on if Treylon Burks can get through the game healthy. If Treylon Burks can get through the game healthy, cross your fingers. I know that's a big if. If he can get through the game healthy, I think that gives them a better better outlook or a better vision of what it can be, so we can sort of move on. And I say move on as if D-Hop hasn't been a good player for this team, because he has, but move on in the sense of we need to get something for the guy. Let's help him out. He helped us out. It didn't work out because of the team, so let's move on.
Poor D-Hop hasn't been on a good team his
Yeah,
entire
that's
career.
man. You're right.
Texans,
this man hasn't been.
Texans had one or two good teams early in his career when he was there.
I just think about that,
Remember they were
great.
Were they not ahead something like 21-0
in
Kansas City?
Yeah, and ended up losing
the week before Kansas City beat the Titans in the championship game.
And ended up losing that game.
Oh yeah, they got hit with a freight train in the second half, and they lost by multiple scores. But at one point, you're like,
Titans.
Wait a minute.
So you
and it was even worse for the Texans. They really collapsed.
went your whole career up until this point, and you haven't even made the playoff a handful of times, and you are a great player. You know how frustrating that is.
Fringe Hall of Famer.
I just remember not going to the playoffs. I guess my first 2 years we didn't go to playoffs. Like that 2 years in a row, that was like, you guys. I don't think I ever went 2 years in a row of not making the playoffs.
Lucky.
In my 15. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at D-Hop, as great as he's been, it's like you got to do him a favor. Like if you know this isn't going, you got to do the man a favor.
I don't know if they have to.
They did Kevin Byard a favor.
If Kevin Byard can win a Super Bowl ring, then good for Kevin Byard.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he deserves that. Let's get right into your phones on this because the text line is popping 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we are brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
He breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Moving can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Caroline Fenton here from my friends over at Black Tie Moving, and their trained and dedicated team is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the moving process. I moved with Black Tie Moving over the summer, and I can personally attest to the fact that it was the most stress-free moving experience that I have ever had. From the very beginning, when I had a call with a local professional moving consultant and I got a free estimate and there were no hidden fees, what my bill was at the end of my move was exactly what they told me that it would be. They told me, hey, your movers will be there at this day at this time. And sure enough, they were there exactly that day at that time. And the moving process was so easy. I literally kicked my feet up and they took care of all the heavy lifting, literally and figuratively. So be sure to mention the promo code GAME to score 10% off of your next move with Black Tie Moving. Visit blacktiemoving.com or call 615-437-8401. That is 615-437-8401. And then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life.
When you own a business, it's like another member of your family. Its success takes time. It requires money, attention, and tools to help it grow. At F&M Bank, we'll treat your business like family, building trust and responding quickly when you need us. No matter your business goals, you can reach them easier when you have a banking relationship that supports you, tools to conveniently manage your money coming in and going out, and expertise to make your business better. Bank your business at F&M Bank. myfmbank.com. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Want an inexperienced surgeon?
Okay, nurse, I'm ready for the scalpel.
How about an inexperienced airline pilot?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, and I'm terrified.
Experience matters, and we have it.
Regal Realty Group is experienced to help you from contract to close. They know the area, understand financing, and have up-to-date property listings and comparisons. Oh, and lots of experience. Visit RegalRG.com.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
So, if there's brunch, why isn't there dinner?
Or dunch, for that matter.
No, we know why there's no dunch.
Why is that?
People might get confused and miss brunch.
And I never want to miss a brunch this good.
Me either. Cheers.
Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Breakfast buffet Monday through Thursday from 7 till 10:30 a.m. and lunch from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Weekend brunch Friday through Sunday from 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. featuring cast iron pancakes, made to order waffles, and eggs and carafes of mimosas. Treat yourself today to Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
In any work environment, culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. Hey, this is General Manager Sean Ford with Cromwell Media. And this month, we have several celebrating their anniversary working with us. From our corporate office, Janice Russell is celebrating 33 years and Dorothy Black, 29. Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad, the duo that make up our morning show on 102.5 The Game, are celebrating 3 years. And Connor Newt, who works for 102.5 behind the scenes, is celebrating 1 year with us as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Hey,
Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. Let's get to some phones. Excuse me, let's get to some phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. One texter texts in, and I've heard this a lot. Our show, morning show, Joe and Chase's show, Jared's show. Texters texting in about, well, it doesn't matter if we trade for draft picks because we can't draft anyway. Like one texter texts in and says, I don't trust the drafting, aka drafting Corey Davis at number 5.
Okay, so then I would like to throw it back at the texter and say, how do you build a team then?
But also, that was a different general manager that drafted Corey Davis.
But even if it were the same general manager, philosophically, you say our team can't draft. So how do you get good?
You pay players, and this team doesn't want to pay players.
But you have a salary cap. So you can't pay every player. Like, the only players that become eligible to buy are 27, 28 years old, fraught with risk. Their original team is saying, I'm ready to let this guy go. So those are the guys that build you a championship roster? I don't think so. Maybe a guy here and there, but that's not how you build if you don't draft. Like, it has to be both, right?
Well, yes, it has to be
You
both.
have to keep going to the well and drafting. And the only way to do that is to have picks.
And that's why it's ridiculous to say, well, we may as well just not even get picks because we can't draft.
Right. You're giving up then. You're saying you can never win.
And one, the bad drafts, that guy's gone. You know, the 2021 draft, that's hurting the team actively because you whiffed on an offensive lineman in the 2020 draft. You whiffed on a cornerback and another offensive lineman in the 2021 drafts. Look, that guy's gone. He's got fired.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't trust the people, the powers that be, the decision makers of this team, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, to draft, then they should probably be fired.
People, listen, I understand why you may feel this way because you're just looking at your team, the Tennessee Titans. But I guarantee you, if you went and you followed all the 31 other teams, you see what their GMs have done, you would say, okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on the Titans.
That's what always happens.
Exactly. Because, listen, you go to Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis, again, I will stand on this hill and never get off of it. You shouldn't have ever traded Corey Davis. Never.
Or let him go to free agency.
Exactly. You should have never let him go to free agency because he fit what you wanted to do as a team. You had a 1-2 punch in Corey Davis and AJ. When AJ wasn't available, Corey stepped up and made plays. When Corey wasn't available, obviously AJ did their thing. But they had a 1-2 combination that was working, people. Look at Corey Davis's numbers the year he left. He was damn near a 1,000-yard receiver had he not missed 2 games. Just look at it. So kill the narrative that Corey Davis wasn't a good player. Maybe not at 5, but he was a first-round draft pick. He still put up, if you wanted to say, he still put up ultimately first-round numbers for this team, okay? Then you go down to other guys, in the draft. Harold Landry, the year after, he's still on your team. Mm-hmm. He's one of your better players when he's healthy. So you can go through this.
All misses.
Exactly.
Drafted Derrick Henry.
But that's why I'm saying, like, kill the narrative, people. Kill the narrative. Stop it. You're not doing yourself any favors here. Kill the narrative that why should the Titans even accumulate draft picks because they don't know how to draft. Damn it, they know how to draft. Every team misses on at least 3 guys in the draft. If they got 7 guys, they draft as a 7-round draft. If they have 7 guys they draft, I guarantee you at least 3 of them is not going to make the team, maybe even 4. Okay, so this is not just a isolated Tennessee Titans problem. This is what you do when you GM. You hit on some, you don't. Some guys get lucky and they get on the road, i.e. San Francisco or Harry Roseman now. But some of his stuff was done via free agency too. So to me, stop with this narrative that the Tennessee Titans don't, because if they didn't know how to draft, they wouldn't have been in the AFC Championship game. If they didn't know how to draft, they wouldn't have had as many playoff appearances with the head coach that they have had. They would have went to the playoffs probably last year had they not gotten injured.
And John Robinson missed on too many draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
He hit on
on some.
But the 2021 draft, that's, I think, still coming back to haunt this team. But what are you going to do, stop drafting? Just take the St. Louis, Los Angeles Rams approach and say, F them picks? No, you're not going to do that.
They need to get more picks.
LD from McMinnville says, I will counter Willy's argument. How many good wide receivers have the Titans drafted since being in Nashville? This franchise struggles drafting. I'm sitting next to one. A.J. Brown was a pretty good wide receiver.
Corey Davis was a good wide receiver. Yes.
Again, that's not the point. The only way to get good young wide receivers is to draft them.
Basically,
that's how you do it. You draft and then you sprinkle in the right free agents to fill the remaining holes. It's the only way you can do it.
But I think people, because they only follow the Titans and because this narrative of they don't know how to draft, they do know how to draft people. Every GM in the NFL goes through their ups and downs. The great Floyd Reese, he had his ups and downs. Bill Belichick, he got his ups and downs right now.
That team's so bad.
Exactly. So every team goes through it. Some teams are a little bit better at masking, things or knowing very quickly, like, okay, this is not working. Let's move on and let's try something else. The Titans hadn't done that. They've seemed like they've tried to hold on to guys a little bit longer than what they should.
Or maybe get rid of guys a little bit too soon.
Exactly.
So to the caller, I'm not denying that they've whiffed on a lot of wide receivers over the years. They've whiffed on a ton of them. We can go down the list. It's fun to do sometimes on a rainy day. But my point is the next draft and the one after that, you can't look back on failures. You have to draft well to win.
The kid out of Rutgers. He was good, but he just got injured.
Kenny Britt.
Yeah, Kenny Britt. After that knee injury, he was just never the same guy. But you saw the promise in him. You saw, like, man, this kid can really play. But he couldn't stay healthy.
I would be saying this even if they never, ever had a Derek Mason or a Kenny Britt or anything. Like, that's the only way to get good in the league is to draft a good.
They had Drew Bennett.
Right.
Justin McCarron
the Herschel
was
Walker
pretty
trade,
good.
Right? What did it do? It gave the Cowboys a ton of extra picks, and they hit on the picks.
Yeah.
That was a huge turbocharge to the fact that they had been bad for a few years and got Emmitt Smith at the top of the draft and Michael Irvin at the top of the draft and Troy Aikman, the number one pick in the draft. So you had that and the turbo boost of having the extra picks. That's how you build a roster that can win.
And you look at
even if you screwed up all the picks before.
The best teams in the league. The Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs drafted
That's an ace
Travis
right there.
Kelce.
You got an ace.
Right,
you
exactly.
got the ace.
The Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts. I know they traded for A.J. Brown because you have to supplement your roster with moves like that, free agency moves and trades, just like the 49ers supplemented their roster that they drafted a lot of pieces of and then traded for Christian McCaffrey. And that seemed to be kind of the cherry on top.
You build assets.
You can't build a consistently successful team without players that you've drafted. Even the Rams. The Rams sold out for that Super Bowl team. They got the quarterback, but they still drafted a lot of players on that roster.
To get to that point.
And I think the Rams are kind of feeling the effects of not having draft picks because the Rams aren't all that great.
No. They're trying to muscle through right now.
Another argument for you need more picks is that D-Mace's point of, let's say in a given year you have 6 picks. Well, if you get 3 players out of 6 picks, you're batting 500. That's pretty good. But if I have 10 picks and I hit 5 for 10 and I bat 500, that's 5 good players and not 3 good players. You see, the more throws you have, the more picks from the well you have, your batting average can be lower, but you still end up with more good players as a result. So,
but
again, there's a lot of reasons why you want picks. You want extra picks.
You can package those picks and move up in the draft.
Totally.
Neil Texan says they can draft receivers, but why do they give up on that?
Why are we fixating on receivers? They need a left tackle. They need a cornerback. They need a lot of positions. They need good players.
But
they need a lot of players.
That should be the question. Not can they draft them? Why can't you keep them on your team?
And why do all of your players get hurt? I mean, A.J. Brown hasn't missed a game this season.
Nah, he hasn't.
And what was one of the problems with A.J. Brown?
He was hurt.
Always hurt. I don't get it. David Long Jr. played 7 games for Miami so far.
Mm-hmm.
Repeat offender, said Mike Vrabel. That's the thing that I want to know is why whenever you trade a lot of players or get rid of players, they miraculously are healed wherever else they go.
And I understand I get it. Fans, I understand because it's your team. You're passionate about your team. So I understand when you say, well, they can't draft anyway. But if you really, that's more of a emotional take when you say something like that. That comes from your emotions because you're frustrated with how the season's gone. You're frustrated, with some picks they may have had, they have had that hadn't worked out. So when you say that, it's all from emotion. But if you look at actually what has gone on with this team or other teams around the league, you would see that, maybe the Titans are right in the middle in regards to guys they draft, the ones that work out, the ones that don't. Again, you should be asking the question why we can't get them to a second contract. That should be the question, not can you draft well? Because I think the Titans did okay. I mean, you got Byard, you got Henry, you got Simmons, Harold Landry, Corey Davis at the time, A.J. Brown at the time, Jack Conklin. These guys over the last, 7 years, 6-7 years that you've had that have been damn good players for you. You just hadn't been able to keep them.
Coy in Clarksville texts in, says if Levis has 2 passing touchdowns on Sunday, he will already have surpassed Ryan Tannehill. Says regardless if you get the first pick in the draft, you get Caleb Williams or Drake May, Levis better show you something great for you to trade that pick. That's been something that's brought up a lot of fans is, well, Levis better be great. You got to see what you got in Levis because you might need to draft a quarterback in next year's draft. But also, how fair is that?
Yeah, they were kicking around. They had a good discussion on the morning show today. Kuharski was in there with Robbie and Rex Road, and they were talking about the I guess the perils of potentially picking a quarterback for the 3rd straight year. That's not ideal, right?
No.
But like you were saying, in this day and age, until you have the quarterback, you have to keep looking for the quarterback, right?
Because
but
it's the engine.
Ideally, you would have enough in Levis to say we've got the guy, and then you could turn that whatever high-ish pick into more picks to fill more holes. That would be a game plan that you would hope you could execute. Doesn't mean you would, but that would. And I talked about the tale of woe, the Bears, right? Last year, Justin Fields came on enough. He ran for 1,100 yards. He threw for some touchdown passes. They didn't win any games. They had the first pick, but they at least said, wow, our guy looks like he's figuring it out. So they traded the pick. They got more picks. Everybody was excited, and then Fields has regressed. So there's no foolproof way of doing it, but the Bears roster looks like they just won a game with an absolute unknown at quarterback. It beat the Raiders somehow. So the rest of the roster,
the Bears or the Raiders.
The rest of the yeah, that's true. Like what's going on with the Raiders, but the roster looks like it's coming around. But now the key is, can Fields have the light go on, or are they going to be in the search for another guy? The Bears have been looking for a quarterback for, I don't know, how long has it been since they've had Jim McMahon?
My time back,
35 years.
But I think the Titans this thing needs to be very clear for them. Because I think for the longest, even with Eddie and Steve, I think the identity was Eddie. Run the football, hard-nosed defense. But then identity switched, and it happened. I'm not sure if they wanted it to happen or whatnot, but you bring Heimerdinger in, and it sort of switches to the proper order. The proper order is, in the NFL, quarterback first, and then everybody else. Well, the Titans went in reverse again. They thought they were getting it with Marcus Mariota, so they were gonna. The hierarchy is what it's supposed to be: Mariota, then Derrick Henry. But Mariota didn't work out, so now the hierarchy is Derrick Henry. How long can you sustain that in this league? 5 years. That's it. Why? Because the running backs' life expectancy not necessarily mean they'll be out in the NFL, but you're going to get a good run with these backs for really 3 to 5 years. And after that, it's done. So teams, they don't put a lot of stock in their running back because they know it's only a 3 or 5 year deal. We got to put it in our quarterback. Why? Because the quarterback is 10 to 15 years. The Titans got to get to a point where they're 10 to 15 years, not 3 to 5 years with a running back, because they're never going to consistently win if that model continues. They need to find their quarterback. It was unfortunate Steve got hurt so much because they thought they had that quarterback 5 to 10 years and plus, but because he was injured so much, it was hard. They need to get back on that trend that every other NFL team is trying to get on. Some teams have it, some teams don't, but everybody's trying to get on that trend of we need a 10 to 15 year guy, not a 3 to 5 year guy. Mm-hmm. We don't. Running backs are 3 to 5. Quarterbacks are 10 to 15.
And as far as the Chicago Bears go, I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, man, I'm sure the Bears wish they didn't trade out of that first overall pick. But I don't know, because the Bears could very well have 2 really high picks because they have the Panthers pick and their own pick, which was probably going to be pretty high. And
they got a chance to build if they can get it right.
Right. And maybe the Bears didn't love any of the quarterbacks in this year's draft.
Yeah, that could have been.
And they got DJ Moore out of it. And they got a bunch of picks in the 2025 draft. So I don't know if Chicago's looking like, man, we really missed not taking Bryce Young.
I think the question will be next year. It looks like they might have a fairly high pick. And I don't know, do they still have any of the Panthers picks? Do they have another pick from the Panthers from that deal?
I think they have 3 first-round picks, 23, 20. They just swapped picks in 23, and then they have 24 and 25 first-round
Oh, they're
picks.
drafting their quarterback.
So that's the thing, is that now they might have to do because that's what they did with Fields. They just pitched Trubisky, right? It was a high pick. And then it was Fields, and now do they have to go to that well again?
Absolutely, they
that's
will.
That's what the Titans. That's what you're just.
You want to
your
avoid
fingers
that,
crossed.
yeah.
Avoid having to keep doing that. That's tough.
It's just a conveyor belt of
It's a bad
misery.
dream. Yeah.
All right. I have a hockey thought coming up next. We'll get into that. Preds fans, don't miss tonight's Smashville live show at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs at 6 p.m. See your Predators star players up close and personal. Get autographs and pictures. This week's special guest is Preds head coach Andrew Brunette. Smashville Live is brought to you by the Black Abbey Brewing Company. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad. It's Chase McKay.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Dominic Cavity.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Lee Company is the trusted expert for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, and general maintenance for facilities throughout Kentucky and Tennessee. Our technology and expertise guides facility owners and managers to smart decisions. When you need a reliable partner to keep your facility profitable and running 24/7, we hope you'll think of us. Visit LeeCompany.com to learn more. That's LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
When it comes to shopping for home and auto insurance, the companies that usually come to mind can only offer one coverage option. So, if you want to compare prices, you're forced to visit multiple websites just to get one quote at a time. but not with Xander Insurance. Xander is a broker that works for you, shopping dozens of top-rated companies to find you the best rates this year and every year so your price stays competitive, keeping your life simple and hassle-free. Compare rates all in one place at Xander.com, or for a more personal touch, call 800-356-1780.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
They're homegrown in Nashville, discussing the biggest topics in the SEC.
The fans are going to want the rivalries to stick around. They've lost to Alabama every year.
The NFL.
What if all the top 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3? You've got to draft your guy at 2.
And anything in between.
From thinking we know everything to then forgetting about everything we thought we knew the day before.
They're Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow on Outkick's Hot Mic.
Out of the gates, ready to go.
Weekdays from 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Hey, this week's Nashville's best deal is from Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, Nashville's largest axe throwing venue, located downtown at 648 Fogg Street. So before we wrap up, I have a quick hockey thought. Because the Frozen Frenzy was last night, which if you haven't heard of it, it's ESPN's NHL version of Red Zone, where all 32 teams in the league were playing last night in 15-minute increments. That was why the Predators' game start was so late last night at 8:15, was because of the Frozen Frenzy. So it was, John Buccigross at ESPN kind of with an NFL Red Zone style of here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. I really enjoyed it.
I think he's the perfect guy.
He's the perfect
for
guy.
that.
The energy that he has.
Oh, yeah.
The intro I could have done without. It was a little bit cheesy. But the idea of it, I really enjoyed. Because I feel like with both hockey and baseball, with the blackouts and how difficult sometimes it is to find games, I feel like I miss out on really good games. And I feel that way about the NFL as well. If you don't have Red Zone, then you miss out on some of the best action across the league. So it was so fun to be able to kind of take a deep dive into players and teams and matchups that otherwise I would have never seen. My one piece of feedback that I would give ESPN, because I know that they're listening and I know that they appreciate my feedback, I would love it on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I would love it because I felt like last night I was balancing the NLCS Game 7 and I was flipping back and forth. Talk about drinking sports from a fire hose. Frozen Frenzy, and then going back and forth to a World Series qualifier game. And then I got to the point where I was like, well, it's late. I need to go to bed. It's a Tuesday night. So I would love if it was stretched out a little bit more. And that was like my Saturday, was getting to sit down and watch hockey all day long, kind of like Red Zone is. Like Red Zone owns Sundays. I'd like to have a full day of it.
There was 2 things that I did like, and then Willie, you could talk about, even though I know you didn't get a chance to see.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I'm glad you guys want to talk about this because I don't really know what it was like very much.
I did like the fact that Scott Hansen, who does the NFL Red Zone, he did this whole
never ceases to amaze me.
He did this whole thing in his car, about the NHL and what they were doing. He was excited about it. He was wishing the guys good luck and everything else. It's like, yeah, you better learn how to control your bladder and all this other stuff. So it was really nice how the NFL sort of picked up on what the NHL was trying to do, and I think they did a good job. And then another thing I did like was in that whole process, they were keeping tracks of the goals scored, so it made it interesting across the league on that particular night, because I think the record is 120 goals, so they were trying to track everybody to try to see if they can get over that 120 goal number. I don't know if they got over it or not, but they would switch back and forth, talk about games. Oh, this guy's and then they would go to a game when it's in the penalty and they trying to see if they're going to score goals. So, and they flipped over to the Predators game. So that I did enjoy, because it seemed to me they put a lot of thought into it, and they were in it. They were in it, and it was fun. It's like, dang, Willie, you didn't even get a chance to see it, man. Gosh.
I do think it was great for the league. I think for them to be trying stuff like that is good stuff. Like that makes me happy, because there might have been some fans that wouldn't have otherwise watched. Like maybe they wouldn't sit down and watch whatever the regular ESPN game would have been, right? Let's just say it was Blackhawks against Penguins, wherever that. Maybe nobody's that interested in that game, only the fans of those two teams, but something like that's special. Somebody sits down and says, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm just watching all the action. It's just like the red zone. That's what you want, right? Some people to say, I'm a casual fan, but I was in on that. And now maybe you learned about a few players you didn't know about, and when that guy comes to town, you're like, oh, man, they were talking that guy up that one night where they had you see what I'm saying? That's what you want. So I'm glad the feedback is good.
It's a good way, I think, to grow the game.
The tough part is for the teams in the central time zone, and this happens in the playoffs, right? That was one of those games where the game started a little later at 8:15. I think it affected the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
There were some that either probably felt like they had to leave a little bit early or just decided to either give their tickets to somebody else. But I didn't feel like it was quite the energy that it would have normally been. And Tuesday nights are always maybe a little different than Saturday night, for example. But and then it's easy to say this after the fact, but they didn't like the Predators didn't like their start, right? And so
I don't blame them.
They said it before the game. Andrew Burnett said, "I am a little concerned when you're not in your regular routine."
Well, it showed,
and it did show. They didn't play very well, but for the good of the league, do it once or twice. I think it's a great idea. Do it on a Saturday, maybe after the NFL season ends or after the college football season ends.
Right.
I think ESPN could do it right. The problem is they have a lot of college basketball stuff, but could you figure out a way to do it on a Saturday later in the season? Yeah, I think that'd be great.
If you can own April.
Yeah.
I think I think it would be fun. And
late in the regular season, that's a really interesting thought, where you got a lot of playoff points on the line, races. Yeah.
I think it'd be fun, and it could be a frozen frenzy of playoff contending teams, of teams that need to win and get in. I'm sure it was an absolute programming nightmare for ESPN, but I enjoyed it. That's going to do it for us today. Stillman and Company is up next. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Be love and love on your people. Peace.